So we're going to use Google Drawing to create our own pop art word using an onomatopoeia word. So you can choose one of these words, or there are some more examples over here that might inspire you. So we're going to create an onomatopoeia pop art word. So for this example, I'm going to use insert word art, and I'm going to do each letter one by one so that I have more control over it. So I'm going to do I'm going to double click it, change it to I, double click it. Okay, so my word is going to be zip. And I can start to play with the fonts. So as I'm looking through, some of the fonts might help enhance your word. This font might be great for a word like ooze, so maybe I like this font. I've changed my word. All right. So now with my individual letters, now I have my pop art word. I'm going to do ooze because it's kind of like it's dripping or melting. It's oozing out. So then I can start to play with these fonts. So I'm going to add a drop shadow. I'm going to play with the drop shadow and make it opaque. And I can play with the direction and how far away and how blurry or not blurry. And then inside of each one of these letters, I can use different shades of green to make my word ooze. All right, so now that I have my word ooze and I like it, I'm going to group it together. And that's going to let me resize it by pressing shift and clicking so that I can make my word nice and big. All right, to add more depth and detail to my pop art word, you might notice in some of the examples, they had like these explosions or different designs around them. So we can do that in our word. I'm going to zoom back out. And we're going to use some shapes and some different tools in the toolbar to help us make the background for our pop art word. So in the toolbar, if you come over to the shapes tool and you come over to callouts, you can use some of these pre-made explosions to put behind your word. There are some other interesting shapes here that we could also use to add detail to our pop art word. But to start off, I'm going to just use one of the callouts. I'm going to zoom back out. And then I'm going to press on the keyboard and drag, and I'm going to decide which way do I want my thing to be ooze. Okay, control down arrow key. Now it's behind. I'm also going to show you the way to make a design with polyline. So with polyline, see how in this example there's an orange and a red explosion? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around this explosion and make a new explosion. And it's okay if some of the points go all the way outside of the canvas. So I click, move the mouse, click, move the mouse, click, and move the mouse. Okay. And then I'm going to do Control Shift down arrow key, and now it's behind. Then I'm going to create a shape using the curve because I want to do something that's kind of puffy, like a cloud. So I'm going to use curve. Control Shift down arrow key. All right, and then if you are randomly clicking and you need to get rid of the curves, just click back on the select tool. Now, I've already got this kind of green theme. I am going to add some kind of like yellow. I'm going to change the border weight. And for my background color, and for all my borders, and then the borders for my word, I don't like that one. So I think to make mine feel like more it's oozing, let's make this shape smaller. Yeah, I like this better. So let's take this and stretch it a little bit. And then I am going to duplicate this one. And I'm going to make it smaller. I'm going to move it down, down, down with the arrow key. And then I'm going to change the color to something else that I might like better. I don't like the gradients for this. So let's try still don't like this either. I'm going to even duplicate this one and then rotate it. Move it down. And I'm going to make it I don't like that shape at all, so I'm going to delete it. So to really play up my word ooze, I'm going to try and use mostly these curved shapes. And to make it feel cohesive, if I just resize them, now I like this much better. So if there's anything else that I might want to change, I could add some drop shadows to these. And to make them feel very similar, we're going to remove the blur and we're going to turn the opacity to 100%. And then that's going to let me play with the angle and the distance of my drop shadow. So I can put this drop shadow over here. Then I can click on this one and put this drop shadow over here. So everything's going to have a drop shadow. We want everything's drop shadow to be at 100% opacity, and the blur radius should be at 0. So it's not going to be a blurry drop shadow, it's going to look like a thick line weight. So I'm going to play with the drop shadows. Like I said, I want all of the drop shadows to be at 100% opacity. So all of the drop shadows are at 100% opacity. The blur radius is always at 0, and then you can increase the distance, and then if you notice that sometimes they're a little bit off. Okay. Okay. The last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use insert word art and I'm going to type my name. And then I'm going to change the font to something very simple. I'm going to choose a color that goes with my design but doesn't detract from my design. And I'm going to put my name small in one of the corners, so that way when I go to print out my artwork, I know who it belongs to. You can decide which corner of your artwork your name is the best in. And then you're done. You can do file, download, PNG.